Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the HSO webinar on Clare's Law. So before we start, my name's Andy Clough. I'm Head of Public Sector here at HSO, and I'm joined by my two colleagues, Ben Coleman, who's a Power Platform Specialist, and Alex Metcalf, who will be doing the bulk of the Clare's Law presentation today, who works for me as Client Director. HSO have been investing in our public sector business over the last 2 years, but more importantly, we've been investing in our police business most recently. And I'm proud that Ben and Alex are part of the team, both actively working in UK police forces delivering our solutions currently. Ben is a specialist in the technology that we built the solution in, and Ben will cover more of that. But Alex is a former serving police officer of over 20 years in a regional police force in the UK, and I was proud to bring Ben into the team because he brings that police knowledge that is really important to us, not just around everyday policing, but how that relates to translating it into a technology solution. And we've been very keen to use that knowledge in developing our police solutions to date. Next slide, please, Ben. So agenda today, done the introduction. We're going to do a little bit about our solutions, where they've come from. Then we're going to have a look at the solution and then get into some of the next actions. And I'm pleased that Ben has come up with a really nice, hopefully attractive offer to anybody that might be interested in the solution. And Ben will cover that as we get to his bit. Next slide, please, Ben. So who are HSO? We're a Microsoft technology company. We only do Microsoft. We're very, very focused at what we do. And we have a large number of specialists in our organisation, some 300 people who focus purely on Microsoft technology solutions. That's outside of all of the kind of back office admin. There's about 420 of us altogether. But we focus in the Azure, the data elements of Microsoft technology, but also very much at the forefront of AI and bringing AI into our solutions. We recently acquired an AI company, and that's really charged us in delivering some meaningful AI into our everyday solutions. We're also a member of the Microsoft Inner Circle, which is really important. Not many Microsoft partners can say that. It's the top of the top Microsoft partners. And what it enables us to do is learn from our customers and go with our customers to Microsoft and influence the way they develop their solutions, which is pretty hard to do with such a big beast as Microsoft. But we're able to do that, and we do that in partnership with our customers as well, which really takes us to the top table. Thank you, Ben. Next slide. So what have we been doing around policing? So we've been working in policing for the last 2 years or so, and we've bought a number of different types of solutions to create a platform for policing with what we do. We've got the Clare's Law app, and that's what our focus is going to be today. We're going to really delve into that solution, let you have a look at it, let you ask questions, let you kick the tires of that solution. We call it one of our standard apps. It's not a massively complex solution, but we've invested in getting it right. We've showed it to various people in your business to enable us to make sure we have got the processes right. It is a flexible solution. We do recognise that everybody is slightly different, and we've engineered the solution so it does allow flexibility of process. But it's an app that can be used for lots of other things as well. The kind of way it's written and the way we've built it would allow it to be very easily modified to do firearms or Sarah's Law or other solutions of that type. Then we've got our premium solutions, and we've currently got 2 in that space at the moment. We've got Bail and Uniform. They've both been built in partnership with police services in the UK, and they're both just about to go live in those respective forces. They are heavily built solutions to meet a specific and complex business requirement, like Bail and Uniform, where you've got ordering and requisitioning are all involved in that. So those are relatively complex solutions, but built in the same technology as Clare's Law, but perhaps got a little bit more deeper business process automation in there, a little bit deeper complexity to meet the business requirements of complex solution. We've also built a really cool AI solution. I love this solution, actually. Alex and Ben led our thinking on this with one of our real deep technology guys. And this really solved a frontline policing problem where you had people perhaps in the middle of the night trying to interpret bail law, trying to make a decision based on documentation that this long, that's this big and this complex. And it's just a really simple solution that allows you to ask a question and get a real world answer back using AI technology. We've actually gone live in this in a number of other industries as well. The engine of this is quite similar. We've got a legal case management solution where it's live, but it's a way to ask questions of lots and lots of information and get a very concise, quick answer. So that's where we're leading on AI as well. So this is the range of our police apps currently. We're investing in more. There's an investment program within HSO, not only in people like Ben and Alex, but with other people, but also building these apps to bring them to market. So you've heard enough from me. I'd like to hand over to Alex now, and we'll have a deep look into the Clare's Law app. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Andy. So if you just bear with me whilst I get my screen up. Smashing, thank you. So as Andy's described, this is what we call in the tech industry an accelerator, which means that it is very much a standard solution to a standard process. So the legislation around DVDS, Clare's Law, is the same for every single police force, but every single one of the 43 will be doing it slightly differently, and that's down to the structure of the force, the resources that are available, historic issues, just how the force works. So the solution that we've built has been designed with an SME from my old force and has been peer reviewed by the sergeant who works for the national lead for the MPCC, and they confirm that this delivers how Sandford Police would manage dealing with Clare's Law requests. So the first thing that you can see on screen is a dashboard, and it's interactive. So if I hover over here, and it's set up to have 4 different districts, and you might call them different things in your force, but it's a generic term. So if we were to click on this, it immediately changes the view. So if you are the Chief Inspector, the DCI managing or responsible for Clare's Law, and you can see that you've been told you've got 12 active requests, you can go straight to it, and you can then dial down further to the different areas of the process that you need to look at. So you can immediately see that you have got 9 awaiting officer review. There's 1 at the risk assessment stage, 1 at the sergeant stage, and 1 at closed, and that needs to be archived. So this gives you an overview. This is the force level overview, so you can compare where you're at. You can see here that there's 2 that have not yet been allocated to a district, and that's part of the review process. How do we get a review from or a request from the member of the public in? So what we've built is we've built a Microsoft form. Now this, we can do this exactly the same with your single online home, or effectively it's just a mechanism for collecting the request from the member of the public. And this is the text from Lancashire Police from their website, and here we've got the information that the requester submits. This is who they're making the inquiry about. And then the next stage is, are they making it on behalf of themselves or on somebody else? So if they click themselves, it straight away submit. Someone else, they enter their details. So if we go to one I prepared earlier, so this is about Jackie Smith has made the request on behalf of her daughter Beth Smith about boyfriend Harry Jones. So you can see here, these are the stages where we're at. So we have, from my research and my understanding, around about 50% of requests don't go to disclosure being made. Now, there is one force that's managed to get themselves, as my old chief constable used to call it, in a pickle. And a lot of that was around the lack of oversight. So what we've built in is there's always a sergeant review. So even if following the officer review, where they say, actually, there's no information about Harry, so it then will be reviewed by a sergeant before it's closed. So if we go into the first stage, and we've called it officer review, you could call it triage, and this could be completed by anybody in the organisation. So the first stage it will go to is it will say, select your district, and is it a right to know or is it a right to ask? Well, this is a right to ask request. And then we click save. And as ever, with the demo gods, it's misbehaving a little. Back to the officer review. Here we go. Actually, it has saved it. So we do a new officer review. Back to ask. Click save. There we go. It's saving. So then it comes to the information checks. And what we've done is we've deliberately made this in that when you do your checks of the different systems, so if you search on PNC and you say, I have checked the person and there is information held about them, I've checked the subject and there is information held about them. So the person being the person making the request, and then I've checked on PND and the same thing. Well, we've put a quick select function in there as well. And RMS, obviously, we would change this to niche, connect, whichever system your force uses. And then we say that there is information held about these people. You shouldn't be replicating and duplicating data across different systems. But there is a way built into this solution for you to put a précis so that everybody understands the reasons for the decisions that you're making. So we then say, are we going to make a disclosure? And here, this is where we say, is there information held about the subject on the systems checked? Now, at the moment, that's set to yes. We can set it to blank. We can set it to no. Choose, depends on your preference. But on this side of this part of the system, we've set it to automatically say yes. And then we go through the tests. Is it necessary? Is it reasonable, proportionate? Are we compliant with the Data Protection Act, human rights? And is there another reason for not making a disclosure? So this is built in for that essential check and balance where you might have somebody who, on the face of it, you will be making a disclosure, but for very, very good reasons, they may imminently be due to get a prison sentence for a completely separate offence. You might choose not to make a disclosure. And then you say, would the disclosure be lawful? We've built in immediate safeguarding. So this enables you to submit safeguarding requirements where you can say, we're going to add these in. So you may say, email address for police contact. And then we can say whether that's implemented or declined. And that is the first stage of reviewing. So obviously there's the other systems to check. There's PNC, PND, RMS, whether you check with social services, etc. But the actual initial review, that's been completed and it's been recorded in the Clare's Law solution. When we then move this on, review is complete, yes, and is a disclosure required? Yes. And we move to the next stage. So you can immediately see that it has opened up the consultation phase. Now, you might go to your consultation and a member of the public comes in and they bring the proof that they're in a relationship, they bring the proof of who they are, and you find that actually when you've been doing your research, this isn't the same person. Or they're actually, you decide they're not actually in a relationship, because sometimes this happens. And at that stage, we can say, no, we're not going to progress it, and then it would be reviewed by a sergeant. Rationale for a decision. This is where we can add additional text. So Ray Jones on PNC has extensive convictions for assaults, including 2 times DA, 20 incidents on Paris. You can write a heck of a lot more in there, but that's just for demonstration purposes. So as you move through each of these stages, you will then get another option. So when we do the consultation, where we say, we have met with the person today at 8 a.m. and it was at the police station, or it was at the home address, and we confirm that there's a relationship with the subject. Save it, and again, we can then at this stage start adding contacts. We can add who we've spoken to, we can add the officers who've attended, and we can say, are we going to do a disclosure? So at each stage, you are saying, are we going to do a disclosure? And again, it's the same process. Do we want to do additional safeguarding? Yes, we do. Save. And the next safeguarding measure might be move to hostel. And that's been declined. But you can add in, and you've got a history that shows what you've offered about how are you going to look after this person who's at risk. Now, I've not filled in some of those sections within the consultation. And when we say it's complete, is a disclosure required? Yes. It moves it on. And at this stage, we can do the risk assessment, we can do the inspector's review. So the inspector's review, I'll briefly show it to you. And here we've set these to no. So I've considered the information recorded by the officer in their review. You're never going to say no to that. You've not done the review properly if you haven't, but you need to make a positive determination. So it's just a different way of us demonstrating the different ways that you can set the system up. I've reviewed information held on other systems. Now, some inspectors some DIs might go to the extent of reviewing PNC for themselves, or they might be just looking at what has been recorded in the rationale for the decision by the officers making. So this gives them the opportunity to do it. Do we believe it's reasonable, proportionate? And we go through and we fill in each of these to say yes. So it's tests within the legislation we are completing. And is it lawful that we make a disclosure? And then I approve the form of words. So the form of words is recorded within the risk assessment. I'm not going to show you that today. It's just a walkthrough of some of the functionality. So we close the record and we notify the requester. And then that is saved and it is closed. And then it would get moved on after the risk assessment, and it will get moved on to the sergeant review. Now, the last thing I want to show you today is the document that's produced at the end of. So when a full process is complete, we produce a PDF document. And here you can see, this is your reference number, the names of the people involved, where it was. We've included MOPI level. You'll find in almost any police system, digital system, MOP is not included. It's a legal requirement. We've included it. And here you can see this is the reference number within the Clare's law, which stage it was at, what the time and the date it was, who's done it, whether a disclosure is required, and then the documentation about why that decision was made. We also include the immediate safeguarding. Now, this PDF, this can then be shared with partners in social services. You can use it straight away for if you've got any case file management that you need to build. You can attach it to an RMS. You can place this anywhere. So this effectively becomes your final document, which you can then use to place anywhere else. And as part of the configuration for your force, we would of course change the crest from Sandford to be for your force. So that's a whistle-stop tour. At the moment, I can't see if there's any questions been put in the chat. If anybody does have any questions or there's a specific element you'd like to say, speak up or type it in the chat and somebody can read it out for me. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. That's great. Thanks, Ben.
No questions at the moment, Alex.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So these are the benefits that I believe that are really important. And if you're going to be putting together a business case for your senior leaders to sign off, I don't propose to go through all of these, but you can see that some of the important things, like you've got an audit of activity. If you've got a spreadsheet at the moment that you're using to manage this, you don't know who's in it, when, you don't know what they've done, it's impossible to say. You would have all of this included. If you've got subject access reviews, if you've got freedom of information requests, you will have data for the long term that shows what you're actually doing. So the reporting back to the Home Office for annual data returns is much easier. And you've also got full oversight at force and sort of operational level as to exactly what's happening and what the demands are on your team. And you can see where you might have blockages in the system. There's currently data from last year for the Home Office, which is the last that's available, shows about 45,000 requests nationally, with an 18% increase year on year. Speaking to different forces, I know that you're probably looking at about a 25% increase in requests year on year. So for me, I think that's going to be about 70,000 requests across the UK, and carrying on working in the way that forces have been doing, mainly using spreadsheets, is demands and pressures on your resources. You're not going to be getting any more staff. How can you make it so that you can be more efficient? And this is the solution. This is the way. Plus, you've got all of the additional benefits that we've got on screen. So, any questions from anybody?
Not as yet. Okay.
Smashing. Well, thanks, Ben. Over to you.
Yeah, over to me. Yeah. If you use the raise hand function, then by all means, feel free to, and we'll keep an eye on that as well as we go through the rest of the presentation. Lovely. Okay, so moving on, just a quick look at the commercial overview of what we can offer regarding Clare's Law and this solution that Alex has really expertly demonstrated. You can see the price of it there, £45,000, for which we deliver the installation of the solution onto your tenant by a vetted HSO technician. We've got all of the various different accreditations that you'd hope for, and can go through yours as well, where you've got additional requirements. Configuration for you, because it would typically be tailored towards your particular requirements. We've made some assumptions there as to what's required. Of course, that might vary a little bit, so that might affect the way we engage things, but it would be configured for you, and some assumption made there. 2 days of technical support once we've delivered the solution, all the necessary technical documentation, 2 half-day training sessions. The training materials themselves and the sessions themselves can be recorded for subsequent use and storage on your systems. And then half-yearly reviews as well, included in that as the package, which we've worked through. Now, we're at a point where we're really keen to actually find forces. Yes, that is a one-off cost, by the way, Francisca. Yep. We're keen to find forces that are actually willing to effectively be the first, because we haven't got this system actually live out in the field in a production setting. And as such, we're looking to make this offer to any force that is actually willing to actually proceed, actually commit to proceed before the end of October, and agrees to showcase, case study, and all those bits there with the solution. Obviously, this really would help us greatly. You can see it's a reasonably complete solution and ready to go. And so we're just looking for forces like yourselves that are willing to take that next step. The benefit to you for that is that we're offering that quite remarkable discount on the price there. So we're willing to do it for £30,000 as opposed to 45. So please let us know, following this session if that is of interest. I can see questions come in there. Alex?
I'm responding. Yes, it does separate right to ask and right to know.
Yeah. And just a quick nod to where this sits in the ecosystem, as it were, as Andy stated earlier on in the presentation today. HSO has expertise across the Microsoft portfolio, and these solutions become stronger the more that you have, and especially in terms of the cost to your organization. So HSO and our Power Platform team are really keen to work with you to find other ways in which you can leverage the Power Platform and the wider Microsoft technologies. As you can see, Power Platform helps you to deliver projects faster, get them to actually a production setting more quickly, and deliver more and more complex things in a much tighter timescale whilst keeping your stakeholders involved in those projects. And then looking on the right-hand side of this slide here as well, the more you leverage within the Power Platform when you've got those licenses, the better value it becomes, because you start to leverage those licenses multiple times over rather than just using them for one app. So it's one of the real strengths of the platform is to look at all of the possible cases, not just Clare's Law, but the multiple different ways in which you can leverage the Power Platform to really help you drive that cost benefit as much as you possibly can. And then those ways that Andy talked about at the head of the meeting, just to remind us of these are really easy ways that you could work with HSO to get value out of that license set really quickly. Clare's Law, as we've talked about today, but there are a number of other ways that we can really fast forward your ability to leverage the platform in the areas of bail, uniform, and Copilot, and so on. And that expertise that we've got within HSO, especially with Alex, with all of his time of working within police force, really helps us to optimize the way that we work with you. Just to reach out to Michael, who's on the call today. He's been messaging as well. mlolland@hso.com if you're interested in any of this today, to have a further conversation with us. Then we'd be delighted to hear from you.